You're being watched, but not in the way you think. Not by cameras, not by people. Something much more subtle, more profound, follows your every step. But here's what most don't realize. What if that observer was also a creator? The way you see the world isn't just an interpretation. Your perception is shaping your reality at every moment. But the real question is, are you in control of this, or are you just reacting to what's already being programmed within you? You're being watched, but not how you think. Stay until the end and discover what has always been right in front of you, but you never noticed. You are being watched, but not in the way you think. I'm not talking about cameras, technology, or conspiracy theories. This goes way deeper. Something that has been present in your life since the very first moment you opened your eyes. Yet, for some reason, no one ever taught you to question it. What do you see when you look around? The shapes, the colors, the sounds. Everything seems to be there, solid and unquestionable. But is it? Is reality something fixed, just waiting to be interpreted? Or without even realizing it, are you shaping every detail of the world you experience? The answer to that question can completely change the way you live. Ancient Hermetic teachings state that the universe is mental, that everything vibrates, and that your perception doesn't just interpret reality, it creates it. What you see on the outside is nothing more than a reflection of what exists within. But if that's true, then the most important question isn't what is real, but rather who is creating this reality. Throughout this video, you'll understand how your mind shapes your experience, how your thoughts and emotions influence the events around you, and how you can use this knowledge to awaken to a new level of consciousness. After all, you are not just an observer of the world, you are both the observer and the observed. Now tell me, are you ready to see beyond the illusion? Since childhood, we've been taught that the world is something external to us, a fixed reality, independent of our existence. They tell us we must accept things as they are, as if there were some absolute truth just sitting there waiting to be understood. But what if that idea is wrong? Ancient Hermetic teachings state, the all is mind, the universe is mental. This means that what we call reality is nothing more than a projection of consciousness. Your mind doesn't just interpret the world, it constructs it. Think about it for a moment. Everything you've ever experienced has passed through the filter of your perception. The warmth of the sun, the taste of your favorite food, the voice of someone you love. All of it exists within your mind as a subjective experience. But if everything you know about the world is processed through your perception, how can we be certain that there's a world out there, separate from the one perceiving it? Modern science is beginning to align with this ancient wisdom. In quantum physics, there is a phenomenon known as the observer effect. Simply put, when a particle is observed, its behavior changes. This challenges the traditional view of reality and suggests something profoundly transformative. The mere act of observing influences what is being observed. Now, apply this to your life. If your perception can influence the behavior of the fundamental particles that make up everything around you, could it be that you have a much greater impact on your own reality than you ever imagined? Many believe they simply interpret the world as if it's already set in stone. But if the universe responds to the mind, then what you think, feel, and believe directly shapes what happens around you. Two people can walk down the same street and experience completely different realities. One might see beauty, feel lightness, and notice opportunities. The other might only see chaos, pollution, and hostility. The street is the same. What changes? Each person's perception. This means that the life you're living today is not a fixed destiny, but a reflection of what you've been projecting onto the world. And if your perception shapes reality, then you have far more power over your existence than you ever imagined. So the real question is, are you using this power consciously, or are you just reacting to the projections of your own subconscious? Have you ever stopped to think that everything you know about the world exists only within your mind? Every sound, every image, every sensation, all of it is processed inside you. But what if I told you this isn't just a passive process? Hermetic teachings state that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This means that reality isn't something external and independent, but rather a projection of consciousness. Your mind doesn't just interpret what happens, it directly influences what you experience. It's as if you were inside a dream without realizing it. Just like when you sleep, effortlessly creating entire scenarios, your waking mind is also constructing the reality around you. But most people never question this. They believe they're simply reacting to the world, when in fact they're shaping every experience through their thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Imagine two people walking down the same street. One of them is at peace, connected with themselves. They notice the sunlight, hear the birds singing, feel the breeze on their face. To them, the world feels welcoming and full of possibilities. Now, the other person is anxious, burdened with worries. Everything around them seems dull. People seem cold. The city feels chaotic. The environment is the same, yet the reality each one experiences is completely different. The difference? Perception. This doesn't mean the external world doesn't exist, but rather that your consciousness is the filter that defines how it manifests for you. What you deeply believe influences what you see. Your mind projects meaning, creates patterns, and directs your attention to whatever confirms your beliefs. Now think about this. If your perception can alter the world you experience, what would happen if you learned to control it? Let's go even deeper. Nothing stands still. Everything in the universe vibrates, oscillates, moves. That includes you, your thoughts, your emotions, and even the way you perceive the world around you. Your eyes see, but it's your vibration that defines what you truly perceive. Think about a day when you woke up in a bad mood. Everything seemed to go wrong. Traffic felt more chaotic. People seemed more impatient, and every little problem felt amplified. But did the world actually change that day? Or was it your vibration that caused your perception to filter only the chaos? Now remember a day when you were happy. Everything seemed to flow. People smiled more. Things fell into place effortlessly. But the outside world was the same. The only thing that changed was the internal state you were vibrating. Ancient Hermetic teachings tell us that nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. Your mind and heart are constantly emitting frequencies. The higher your vibration, the more your perception expands, allowing you to see opportunities, solutions, and synchronicities that were always there, but had previously gone unnoticed. The reality you experience isn't just a matter of interpretation. It's a resonance. If you tune your frequency to fear, scarcity, or doubt, your perception will be limited to a world that reflects those emotions. But if you raise your vibration to confidence, gratitude, and clarity, you'll start noticing a completely different world. So the real question is, what frequency are you choosing to vibrate at right now? Nothing happens by chance. Every action creates a reaction. But what if I told you this principle doesn't just apply to the external world, but also to your internal world? The way you perceive reality isn't neutral. It creates a cycle. Your mind is constantly searching for validation of what you already believe. If you see the world as a hostile place, your attention will naturally gravitate towards situations that confirm that belief. If you believe success is hard to achieve, your subconscious will filter out all the opportunities that prove otherwise. It's like a reflection. What you project internally, life reflects back to you. This happens because the mind operates in patterns. A belief creates a perception. Perception shapes experience. Experience reinforces the belief, and this cycle repeats until you choose to change it. But here's the big question. What happens when you start observing your own thoughts? When you become conscious of the patterns shaping your life, something incredible happens. You stop being just a passive character in the game of existence and start rewriting your own script. What once seemed like an inevitable fate turns into a conscious choice. So, what have you been choosing to see? Is your reality the result of chance, or of what you keep reinforcing without realizing it? By now, you've realized that your perception doesn't just interpret the world, it shapes it. And that alone is already shifting the way you see life, isn't it? Now imagine how many people are still trapped in a limited view of reality, unaware that they have the power to transform everything. If this content resonates with you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This signals to YouTube that this knowledge is valuable, helping it reach more people who need this message. Now, let's move on to the next point, because the key to shifting your perception is about to become even clearer. Everything has two poles, light and shadow, heat and cold, expansion and contraction. The world is made of opposites. But here's the most important point. These opposites aren't separate. They're just extremes of the same thing. What does this mean? That the way you perceive a situation can completely transform it. Failure can be seen as defeat or as an essential lesson for your growth. a challenge can feel like an obstacle or an initiation into something greater. Fear can be paralyzing or a gateway to courage. The reality you experience is determined by which end of the pole you choose to stand on. If everything has a counterpart, then nothing is fixed. Everything can be redefined. This gives us an immense power, the power of mental transmutation. When you understand that everything has two sides, you can shift your perception, and in doing so, completely transform your experience of life. So, the next time something seems negative, ask yourself, is there another way to see this? What's the other pole of this experience? The answer might just be the key to a new reality. Everything in the universe follows a rhythm. The tides rise and fall. Day turns into night. The seasons change, and your perception is no different. There are moments when your mind feels clear, expansive, deeply connected to a sense of meaning. But there are also times when everything seems confusing, heavy, and stagnant. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply means you're following a natural flow. But here's the secret. You don't have to be swept away by these cycles. The key to mastering perception is learning to ride these waves. When your consciousness is elevated, use that moment to expand, learn, and create. When you're in a period of low energy, instead of resisting it, take the opportunity to reflect, reorganize, and strengthen yourself. What once seemed like an uncontrollable swing becomes a conscious path of growth. You realize that no state is permanent, and that instead of fighting against the cycles, you can use them to your advantage. The real question is, are you letting your perception be carried by the tide, or are you learning to navigate? If there's one thing this knowledge teaches us, it's that perception is not passive. The world doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. Everything you experience is filtered through your mind. Every thought, every emotion, every belief acts as a prism that shapes how reality manifests for you. But now you know this process can be conscious. You can continue seeing the world the same way, reacting to events without questioning them. Or you can step into the role of a co-creator, adjusting your perception and, in turn, transforming your own reality. The ancient Hermetic teachings have always been there, waiting for you to use them. They are not just philosophical concepts. They are tools for your spiritual evolution, practices that can change the way you live, feel, and interact with the world. The final question is not what is real, but rather, how am I choosing to perceive this reality? And if perception is a choice, then your transformation begins now. If this video gave you a new way to see reality, just imagine what else you could discover. Now I want to know, what was the deepest insight you had today? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your perspective on all of this. And if this content resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Not only does it support this work, but it also helps the algorithm keep showing you videos that truly expand your consciousness. And since you've made it this far, don't stop now. In the next video, we'll explore a concept that builds on this journey and can further transform the way you perceive the world. The link is in the description and on the card right here on the screen. See you there.